Hello guys, and welcome to this Volks Wizard video. Now today we're in the workshop getting our hands dirty doing a little modification to this Mark 6 Golf GTI Edition 35. Now if you've ever fitted a wheel to a Volkswagen, Audi, Seat or Skoda, you'll know they can be a bit fiddly to fit because you have to line the wheel up on the hub and make sure you don't cross thread the bolts. Well, a popular conversion with people who do racing or track days and take the wheels on and off regularly is to fit a stud conversion kit. Now, it's not actually unusual to have studs on your hub because a lot of makes actually leave the factory with them in place. And what that means is instead of having to slide the wheel around on the hub to get it in the right place, you just slide it onto the stud, secure it with a nut, and you can't really get it wrong. Now, RacingLine Performance in Milton Keynes have made a kit specifically for this purpose, and I've got one here to fit to this Edition 35. I just want to show you how easy it is to fit it. This is the stud, the silver thing's the stud, and on top of it you've got this black nut, which is a 19mm, so it's a bit bigger than the standard ones. And as long as you secure this in place properly using the right torque and some Loctite, it should be really secure. So without any further ado, let's get fitting this RacingLine Performance stud conversion kit to this Mark 6 Golf GTI Edition 35. Okay, as you can probably tell, the car is now up in the air. As ever, when you're raising your own vehicle, take all the precautions you can to stop it rolling away or falling down off whatever you're raising it with. Never raise the car just on a trolley jack. Always secure it with axle stands. Always put it into gear and always put the handbrake on. And always follow the instructions. So RacingLine helpfully provide this A4 sheet. It's not particularly complicated, but it's very thorough, and I'll put the link to where you can download it in the description below. Now the first thing they say is jack up the vehicle securely, remove the wheels, clean the threads in the hub, so where the bolts go in there, and then clean the short section on the new studs using a suitable solvent such as brake cleaner, where you can buy this stuff anywhere, and usually an aerosol. This is just my refillable sprayer. So yeah, we'll do that then. So we've got 5 of these to do for this wheel, for this corner anyway. So this is what the stud looks like. This is the bit we've got to clean, so that goes into the hub, and that's the bit the nut secures the wheel with, but we're only cleaning this bit now, so just spray a bit on, and I'm using a very clean white cloth there. So that's 1. So just spray that on, wipe it off. 2, spray it on, wipe it off, spray it on, wipe it off, and number 5. Okay, so that's clean. Now the hub bit is probably going to be a little bit harder. You need a brush or something to get in there, and try not to get it everywhere. It's no harm, it's just brake cleaner, but if you've got grease on your hub you don't really want to get that off, so just try and spray it only where you need it. There we go. It's not particularly difficult. If you end up removing the grease from your hub, or just put some more on later, but just avoid getting it close to where the wheel bolts or wheel studs will go. Okay, now it says before you fit the stud, check that the shank, the plain section between inner and outer threads, so this bit here, passes easily through the disc holes, and you are not bottoming the stud on the brake disc. So basically that means that because the brake disc sits on the hub, you want to make sure that this isn't sort of sticking on the brake disc and it's actually going right through to the hub. So I'll just move the camera over here and hopefully show you what that means. So can you see that? Right, we'll go up here. So that's not actually the right hole, that's the right hole. Can you see that? Yeah, I think you can. Okay, so we're threading it in. And you just want to make sure that the shank is going in between in the hole, so it's not. Imagine if that hole was narrower, the disc, the shank would be sitting on top of the disc. Well, just make sure it's going in. It doesn't go in all the way, but we haven't tightened it fully yet, so maybe it will. Okay, let's put the camera back. So next it says coat the threads on the short end of the stud with a thin covering of Loctite 2422, high temp, rated to 650 degrees Fahrenheit. It's important to use a high temperature rated Loctite that exceeds hub temperatures. Now, we're not actually going to do this because this isn't going to stay on this car, but I'll put a picture of the Loctite on the screen now so you know what to order. And you just apply it. You can apply it with a brush or just apply it just through the nozzle and just make sure all the threads are coated. And once you've done that, you can fit the stud to the hub. And it says use a 6mm Allen key. Well, that goes in the end there and then screw the short end of the stud into the hub until you reach the shank. And it says do not over tighten the stud into the hub. Tighten up to around 30 foot-pounds or 40 Newton meters. Now, don't even try and do this job without a torque wrench. So these aren't particularly expensive, and just trying to guess this would possibly end in failure. If you over tighten it, you could weaken the thread. If you obviously don't tighten it up enough, you could find your wheel overtaking you as you go down the road. So this is set to 40 Newton meters now, and it's got 6mm Allen on the end of it, which goes into the end of the stud perfectly. I'll bring the camera in again. So we'll go for this one. Yep. So how torque wrenches work is that when they get to the correct torque, they click and you can no longer tighten it. So you'll see that happen when it gets to 40 Newton meters. You can see again now that the shank is going well into the brake disc there. So that's good. It's not sitting on top of the disc, it's actually passing through it, and it will only stop tightening once we get onto the hub. So that's perfect. It's getting tight now, should click soon. There we go. So that is one stud fitted. It really is that easy. Just don't forget the Loctite, because I'm going to take these off as soon as I've done the job, because this car is going to go back to standard. Okay, so we've got 4 more. Just do the same with these. We've already cleaned those, we've cleaned the hubs, so let's get fitting these. Okay, I love torque wrenches, and yeah, I wouldn't even entertain working on cars without them, particularly on jobs like this. So I can do that knowing that it's absolutely to spec. Now the next bit is to wait 3 hours for the Loctite to go off fully and then refit the wheels. Well, like I said, this is only for demonstration purposes, so make sure you wait 3 hours, but today we're not going to wait, we're going to put the wheel on right now. Okay, well that's the wheel on the studs, and as promised it was really easy, none of that lining it up and then trying to get the bolt in, it just slotted straight on. So the next job now is to fit the new nuts, these 19mm nuts, so a bit bigger than the factory bolts, so you'll need a new socket or whatever wheel brace just to fit these. So we've got to fit these hand tight while the car's up in the air, then tighten them to the correct torque when it's on the ground. Okay, the new nuts are in place. I haven't done them very tight, but because this wheel's recently been powder coated, it took a bit more torque than I'd have liked to get it onto the hub, but it's still well below what it's going to be when it's fully tightened. I've backed them off a bit now so they're loose, and then we can lower the car onto the ground and tighten it up with another torque wrench, which I'll show you shortly. Okay, this is torque wrench number 2 then. They all do different ranges and you can't have really one that does the whole lot because some of them are very delicate, some of them like this one are a bit of a bruiser. So in here it says tighten to the original factory specification of 120 Newton meters, and that says it's the same for MQB, so sort of Mark 7 Golf onwards, and A5 platform. Well, A5 is like 5th generation of this size car in the Volkswagen Group range, so Mark 5, Mark 6 is A5, so that's 120 Newton meters. So it's definitely Newton meters, so it's quite high up. So with a torque wrench you have to twist this bit to the correct marking on there, and there should be a 0 on here that lines up with the 120 on there. Not sure if you can see that, I can barely see it. But then once you've got it into place, lock it into place with the bit on the end there, and then put your 19mm socket on. Again, make your cars in place because it can roll away if you're when you put this kind of torque onto the wheel to tighten up the bolts, or in this case nuts. So yeah. And again, you're waiting for the click. There we go. And you should always do wheel bolts sort of opposite as you do them up, so don't do them in a circle, try and like do one side and then the other. And that is pretty much it. Of course there is a bit more to do for safety. You should recheck the torque of the studs. So that's actually the studs, not the nuts. So you should take the wheel off and check the torque of the studs. Actually, you might be able to do that with the wheel in place, but I think I'd recommend just taking it off and doing it again. So yeah, recheck the torque of the studs after 30 minutes of driving, once the whole assembly has got hot. And it says over tightening can stretch the stud beyond its yield point and it will be permanently weakened. Replace the studs and nuts if they've been over tightened or if the wheel has sustained any kind of knock or damage of any kind. So yeah, be very careful. It's the same with wheel bolts as well, they can fail in the same way. If the studs are being used for motorsport use, we recommend they be replaced every season, because you can imagine the sort of loading they get on a track for a whole season is sort of nothing like even the craziest road drivers would experience. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this Volkswagen video where we fitted this RacingLine stud conversion kit to this Mark 6 Golf GTI Edition 35. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. Please comment, please share, please subscribe, and I'll see you for the next one very soon.